Everybody are you walking away with stuff that you can use?
Very good.
So I was telling one of the table lodges. I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to leave here so enthusiastic, so thrilled with everything you've learned. You're going to go back to your lodge. You're going to look at your worshipful master right in the eye and going, I can save your lodge. And you know what's going to happen, don't you? You are just going to run nose first into a brick wall. I'm here to tell you that the information that you're coming away with is valid and useful. But the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Pick the number one issue in your lodge, get with your worshipful master and your lodge officers and going, what are we as a team going to do about, and you might make progress. One of the things that I learned over doing these things is we send you gentlemen out of here, and I believe the term that I like to use is your hair's on fire. I don't have that problem. But they're so enthusiastic, and you've learned so much, and you get all these neat little tips and tricks. And I don't want you to walk away 6 months into the programming going, well, I'm glad they wasted my time because there's nothing I can do. That's not true. Pick and choose your battles. Pick out the number one issue. Make sure that you get buy-in from your lodge and your lodge officers, and you will be successful. And I don't care if you're junior warden, start working on that issue as you go along. That's my moral for today. This is called Easy Steps for you to have a good year and improve your lodge at the same time, or the care and feeding of a lodge. Now, I know what the topic of this class said, but this is really what we're going to talk about.
Oh boy.
Let's just keep it really, really simple, okay? A baby. What is a baby? Somebody read to us.
Noise machine.
Noise machine. What else? It eats, sleeps, poops, moves, and stays up all night. Yeah. Elementary, right? And a baby has needs. What does it need? It needs food, shelter. They got to exercise them. You can't take them all out for a walk with a dog collar. I know by experience. And a baby will grow. A baby will grow if you feed it, if you teach it, and if it's well cared for and nurtured. Now, if you have a thing and it has needs, and you know how to make it grow, you will have, in this case, a good person. I started to use plants, but my wife kills plastic flowers, so we weren't going to go there. There's a couple of steps that you can go through to ensure that you meet those needs. Because what is Freemasonry if it is not something that has needs and can grow? Recognize who and what we are. We all have shared values. That's what makes us Freemasons. That's who and what we are, is because we have shared values. We all believe in honesty. We all believe in being truthful, patient, tolerant. We have the same values and call one another brother. Congratulations, brethren. You already won. Step one. Step two. You have to focus on the situation or the issue or the behavior. You cannot make this personal. If you do, what's going to happen?
Conflict. Anger.
Conflict.
That's going to be attacked.
Anger.
Disappointment.
Could wind up in being disciplinary. Disappointment.
Separation.
Burned out.
Separation.
Separation. Anybody hear any positive value in any of these things? Not one. There's nothing good that can come out of this if you begin to make this personal. Now, brethren, I'm going to tell you the same thing that the worshipful master told me a couple of years ago when I had a personal issue with one of the brethren in my lodge. He wouldn't listen. You don't have to invite the brother home to dinner. But in the lodge, he's your brother. Get over it. You can go home and talk to your mother about your real brother. But in this lodge, he's your brother. You're done. Do not make it personal. Do not invite them home for dinner. Don't sing happy birthday to them. But in lodge, you remember to respect and treat that brother with every one of the Masonic virtues, just like you would any other brother. It'll be hard. It'll be tough, and it won't leave a good taster in your mouth, but you will be the Freemason, standing up for everything that you know is right. Step 3, maintain your own self-confidence and demonstrate the respect for others. I mean, this is so cheap and easy. It just scares me that we don't do this all the time. You go through and you learn all of your proficiency every time that you go through a degree. Do you not? Oh, yeah. And most of us prove it up in lodge or in committee. Do we not?
Yes.
All 3 times. Most of us, and I'm going to point to everyone in this room because you're a lodge officer, will be working on lectures or doing conferrals. When you have done that, when you have given your first EA conferral, and you've made a new Mason, what do you feel?
Right.
Satisfaction. There is a sense of pride and satisfaction in that accomplishment, isn't there? Why would you ever take that away from somebody else just because they may have not done it the way you would have done it, or they made a mistake? Get my point? Have we ever done it? Oh yeah. Will I do my best never to do it again? I promise. Okay? Make sure that you give that brother or that person or your child or your wife or your dog. Cats, they're always on the wrong side of the door and they taste like chicken. So they don't count. Yeah, they don't count. But for all others, give them their just due. If they're making the efforts, appreciate their efforts. Be constructive. This is kind of a given, is it not? Because if we go over and say criticism instead of construction, criticism brings in all the negative aspects of everything that we could do, and none of it is one of the Masonic virtues, is it?
No.
No. We can be intolerant and impatient. We can be critical. But wouldn't it be better for you and the fraternity and your lodge and your family and your dog and the cat that if you were constructive in everything that you present and everything that you do? You will develop those mutual beneficial relationships. You know what we used to call them? Mutual admiration societies. Well, that's who we are, right? One of the best examples somebody ever gave me is that they were belonging to Toastmasters. Toastmasters made me a better speaker. By the way, I've never been in Toastmasters. I toasted some masters, but I've never been in Toastmasters. Okay? I didn't need to be in Toastmasters. I'll talk to a telephone pole if they didn't walk away. But anyway, what is it that separates the confidence builders from, say, Toastmasters and Freemasonry? One, the guys in Toastmasters are waiting on you to fail so they win. The guys in Toastmasters want you to make a mistake, right?
They count
They count the number of mistakes. And when you get over there and you're giving a lecture, or you're doing a conferral, or doing whatever in your lodge, do these past masters correct you? Yes, they do. But why? Not so that you know that you were caught making a mistake, so that you can do it better. They are hoping that you do it letter perfect, and that is the difference. That's what separates Masons from the rest of the world, is that we as brethren have in our hearts your best effort here. Okay? This one's personal for me. Brethren, I want to go on record right now in front of this camera to thank every one of you that has supported me over the years in everything that I have done. From being a steward, to being junior warden in the kitchen, to being master, to being deputy grand master. Thank you. And I hope always, always to never tarnish your vision of masonry by being anything less than the best Mason I can be. And I charge you to do the same. Every day, every way. If you want to write that one down, you'll hear it later. Be a Freemason. Every day, every way. Somebody, is that on the back of the book?
First page.
Yeah. That's it. Because your behavior is not what you believe, your behavior is what people see of you and is their perception of your values. So you can be the best person in the world, and every time you walk over and kick a cat, they're going to think less of you. Know what I mean? Well, as tempting as that might be. Yeah. Okay, here's a self-assessment. Do you always remember that we are brothers and have all taken the same obligation?
We have to be honest.
You have to be honest with yourself. I'm not asking anybody to raise their hands. How well do you step back and look at the big picture? How well do you avoid letting personalities creep into the problem? And brother, this one's a real problem for a lot of people that I know, including me. How well do you consider the opinions of others and base your decision on fact? How often do you express and demonstrate confidence in others? How often do you recognize and encourage the efforts of others? Brother, I don't have to read these to you. They're in your book. I want you to read them to yourselves and ask those questions. Because these are the things that if you can go through and answer these things to yourself satisfactorily, so that in your heart you're going, I am the best Mason that I can be, every day, every way, write that one down, you're going to see it again, okay? Then you are becoming the best leader that there is. And your lodge will be proud to install you into the East or any other office that you may desire, including deputy. And brethren, if I can be Grand Master, anybody can be Grand Master. I never thought I'd see this day when I'd be here. I never looked for it. Never wanted it. But now that I'm here, I will be the best every day, every way that I can be. Anything else? Anybody want to add anything to this list?
They usually say that the person that doesn't want it is the best candidate for it.
Yeah, well, you're going to get it. Whatever it is, you're about to get it. Leading by example. You must have a strategy. to impart those values that you hold deep in your heart and deep in your mind on how you're going to share those. It takes a conscious effort, and you need to develop a strategy on how you're going to do that, whether it be through educational programs in your lodge, whether it be through community service. You need a strategy. Make sure that you do care in your heart the obligations and charges and carry them with you every day. Are you guys writing this stuff down? Every day, every way. Okay? I got to tell you, I got to just take a little break. The reason I ever became a Mason was a man by the name of R.E. Whaley. Is he famous? If you go Google him, I don't think you'll find anything because he's before the days of the internet. Tall man, about 6'6", big man. One of the most gentle men I have ever known in my life. And at his passing, he was so well respected that he filled the church to overflowing. People were standing in the lawn of a relatively large church, sanctuary probably about this size. Huge church. And he filled it to the rafters. And when the Masons got there to hold their services over it, they were 3 deep all the way across the front, 3 deep, and doubled along all sides of the road, sides of the sanctuary, all the way out into the yard. A man that had never been master of his lodge, a man that had never fully completed the 6th grade. And yet, what made him so special to every person in that community, it was because at his core, he took the obligations of masonry to heart and lived them every day. And Brother R.E. Whaley was my grandfather. He demonstrated the values of leadership, integrity, quality. He addressed every person that he met. He addressed their particular needs. He was always willing to work with them or get somebody to assist him in whatever they needed. And he was a stalwart of his community. Brethren, we are no different today. We have the opportunities to go over and do exactly what my grandfather did 50 years ago, of being the best we can, taking our obligations and our values and living them every day. And here's the whole secret. Right here. You got to be able to communicate it. You don't have to give just the basic information, but if you will actually provide the reason and the purpose behind it, not only you will not have to make that journey alone. You'll find people that will help support you in that endeavor and make the journey easier, make the task that much more accomplishable. And I can't think of a single skill that we do today that is lacking any more than our failure to communicate. Anybody ever see that movie, Cool Hand Luke? What we have here is, right? All the time. Right? You got half the brothers of the lawn showing up in suits and tuxes when you clearly announced that it's going to be a Western dinner. Oh, we put it out in the trestle board. Okay, fine.
And they're mad at you.
And they're mad. Yeah, they're mad at you. Okay. I can't tell you the number of times that Vicki and I have showed up at these places, and it's dark. The building is dark, and you go, "Oh, the stated meeting is at 7:30, and I was told there was a dinner." No. In your communication, be very, very clear. Give out all the information that anybody could ever want and need, and get it out as effectively as possible in every way possible. Okay? I'm done.
That was quick.
What do you want to talk about now?
That's how you lead a presentation, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sir.
Leave them wanting more.
Good refreshment for that.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions or comments about this? Anybody? Anybody want to have anything they want to share? I mean, I shared with you about my grandfather. I have to tell you, just really quickly. My grandfather was 6'6". My grandmother was 5 foot nothing. Okay?
Not me, you.
Huh? I'm growing through. I have a plateau and I'm growing through it. All right. And I was serious. My grandfather never finished the 6th grade. He owned a couple of furniture stores. My grandmother was the perpetual student. Even at 74, when she passed, she was still enrolled for summer school. What did she do? She taught 5th and 6th grade in a 4-room schoolhouse in rural Alabama. Okay? She had, you ready for this? 5 foot nothing, been to summer, every school of her adult life, 2 PhDs, 4 masters, and I can't tell you how many bachelors. Now, do you want to see a marriage made in heaven? It was made in a lot of places, maybe China, but not heaven, I gotta tell you.
Are you from Alabama?
Originally.
Yeah, I'm originally from Alabama as well.
Where?
Prattville, Alabama.
I know where Prattville is. You know where Selma is?
I do.
Yeah, I'm born in Selma.
Oh, yeah?
You can
Yep.
hear the draw between them.
Okay.
You're not used to draw.
It's getting thicker and thicker.
Yeah, now here's the problem. If we continue to talk, that accent is just gonna slide right in there and you won't understand either one of
I
us.
lived in Virginia for a while. I watched them go.
You had something you wanted to share?
Oh, I wasn't sure if you were aware that actually Russell Wilson, I guess, has put a petition in.
What? Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it's, now, it may be in Virginia from his home state or here, I'm not sure yet. It's just some, it's just hearsay right now. I'm not exactly sure of the details,
To
but
find out that hearsay.
as a leadership, in a leadership, that would be, he's a great representative of leadership, I think.
Yeah.
That's initiation I really want to watch.
True. And I was also telling the other brother, in my position, I get invited to go to a lot of things in a lot of different places, and I love going. And if there's anything that I can do to help your lodge, get it out in the community or get the old members back, calendar's a little busy, but give me a call, and if at all possible, I'll be glad to do it. But consider this. Rather than go to a special dinner when all us guys get together and have lasagna or spaghetti. That's over on this side. I've left a lot of my weeknights open, and I would be honored if you would invite me to come over and do a conferral. If you've got a degree going on, you can get it to me as far in advance as possible, and you want, and I'm offering. I would just be really glad to come over and confer for your lodge.
You gonna have time?
I've left a lot of the weeknights open just so that they can be filled.
It's great to watch you fish, but what about teaching me how to fish?
Okay, what can I do to help you?
Well, we have an LOA meeting second Tuesday every month, and we focus on ritual work specifically. We could bring in someone who is fantastic, because control such as you, to show us and teach us, help us learn how to do it properly. I mean, like I said before, it's great to watch you fish, but I'm glad to learn how to fish myself.
So any one of the Grand Lodge officers would be delighted to come over and work. I can do that if you can get it on my calendar.
I'll figure out a way to get it set up for you.
And if you can't get it on my calendar, don't stop that process. Go grab Jim Mendoza, or even better, go grab our grand lecturer. That's his job.
It is, isn't it?
I'm really good at delegation, by the way. Yes, sir.
He kind of covered that.
Sam, you talk a little bit about not making this personal, and you're absolutely correct. The other night, we had an issue that one of our brothers was making very personal. And I was pulled aside with a few others and went, how do we fix this? And that's what I did, is I took the personality out of it. But for some of these other gentlemen that are here, and the brethren, tips, tricks, how to do that,
Yeah.
how to remove that, you know, for someone else when you get into that conflict and you see that they're making it personal, how do you take that out of it?
Okay. It's a good question. That's a very good question. There's a couple ways. You've got somebody that's just being naughty. They're not being they're not being the Mason that they could be. The first thing that I would recommend is that you go talk to one of his buds, one of his support group, right? And you whisper in their ear to go whisper good counsel in the ear of the erring brother. And you have to get that a chance to work. Failing that, and I've known of a couple of cases where that doesn't work because it's all about me, the lodge has the responsibility then to ensure peace and harmony in the lodge. And it falls on the worshipful master to call the brethren aside in private and going, you're not helping the peace or the harmony. And your behavior will not be tolerated within the confines of the lodge. And that means the lodge room and all the lodge activities. That failing, the lodge needs to bring charges. The lodge needs to bring charges. Sorry. He's not carrying his end of the deal. Anybody got any questions or got a better idea?
Very worshipful. A gentleman asked me earlier on a very similar situation. If you're sitting in a senior warden and there is some discussion where somebody's not very pleased and they don't stomp out, but they're obviously miffed, they go sign out and they leave early. Nobody's supposed to leave unhappy. Is a senior warden supposed to ask somebody to take his place while he exits the lodge room to go speak with this brother and try to bring some harmony and peace?
Yeah, I don't know that I would send the
That's
senior warden
a
out.
bit
I think
much.
maybe I would send one of his friends, one of his close brothers.
But actually make that happen right there
Yes, sir.
before
I
he
would.
leaves the building.
I would.
Yeah.
Think of this as your sister getting mad at you at Thanksgiving dinner. She storms out into the yard. Wouldn't you send somebody to go out and see what you could do to,
Of course.
right?
At least find out.
Yeah, wait, did you hear this, brother? You hear this, buddy goes, yeah, before she gets to your truck. So you know my sister.
Just the area.
It'd always be a point of discussion during the meetings, you know, something we should bring up to remind the brothers, this is how we act, this is what we do.
Could be lodge education.
Watch education, there you go.
Yeah.
What if it actually happened during your meeting, you're the master, it happened?
Yeah.
And you don't have the luxury of time to talk to one of his, brothers that could talk to you. How do you handle it right then? I mean, you gavel the guy down, but what if there's still conflict?
So there's going to be conflict still. I mean, you're not going to solve, his passions are running high and he's all upset, so you're not going to be able to solve it in the next 2 minutes, right? And it's kind of like there's a process and a step to get the disagreeable brother, how to deal with him if he won't correct, if it's not self-correcting. Jim, my recommendation to you, and brother, the circumstances will drive this a little bit differently, but as the master, I think if the brother loses his cool, I guess is the best way to describe it. And you feel compelled to end the discussion by wrapping him down and he storms out. Personally, I think I'd leave him go for a little bit.
You need time.
You need time to think about what you just said and done. And then depending on who he was yelling at, if he's just yelling at the lodge in general, I as the master would approach it. If he was yelling at somebody on the other side of the room, then I would send one of his friends to go mediate, if you will, and reason with the brother.
It's like a can of soda. When you shake it up, you don't want to open it right away. Let it sit for a little bit, and then you crack it open.
Good analogy.
Yeah, it's good like that. The pressure,
Yeah.
Life's like a chess game. Chess, my brother, chess.
Yeah. Anybody ever been refused to be sit in lodge? No? No? Anybody here? I have. Yeah, well, huh?
Not blackball.
No, but brother refused to sit and watch with me.
Did you go to the chili cook-off then? Is that-
I never did find out why. I have my suspicions, right? But according to the code, mother does not have to have any particular reason. He can just say, I don't want to sit and lunch with that brother. And that was, that's within his right. And what do you think my reaction was? Well, I was a little disappointed in my brother, right? But I packed up my stuff and got out. That is his right to have who he wants to sit in his lodge. Now, a day or so later, I called the master back up and I'm going, I've done something to this brother. Obviously, I've done something. I've kicked his dog or licked his wife or something. I don't know what I've done. Right? I'm willing to meet with the master and this other brother and see if we can't get it resolved. I'm willing to do so on the square. And that was my offer. So.
Was this when you were, before you were a deputy or after you were a deputy or?
After.
Was it in your own district?
Yeah.
Did he take you up on the offer?
No. Well, you know what? Again, he was perfectly within his rights, and he doesn't have to give a reason, and he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to sit and lodge with who he doesn't want to. Except I think maybe we just changed that.
I was going to say, didn't that change last year?
Yep. Now it takes 3, and you have to have the approval of the master. But at the time, right?
So 3 people have like that fast stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Today, that's the code today. And the master can even overrule it. The master can ask for a reason why. But, okay, so next time I see that brother, what am I going to do?
Run him over.
No, treat him like another.
Ben, say it again.
Treat him like another brother.
And don't make it personal.
It's not personal. You're not going to, and you're not, for me, you're not going to make it personal. Okay?
Especially if he's not giving you the chance to sit down and work through it. Right.
Yeah, it's his prerogative.
It's
I've
not
gone-
on you at that point.
Yeah.
I found what works for me is seeing things as it is, not as I am, so that way I'm, more objective in the manner. That way,
Yeah.
instead of bringing my own emotion to it, I can see what it is for itself instead of bringing, seeing it as I am. And, it helps me separate the two.
Yeah. Now I get emotional. I'll be the first one to tell you. I get angry. I get mad.
I'm passionate.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But I promised my children as I got angry, passionate,
That's right.
right, that I would not beat them to death. What I would do is they could go to their room while their father cooled off and then made a rational decision on what the punishment was going to be. And I did it. If it took days, and that's always fun to let your children stew over that for a couple of days. That's torture in itself, and you have to take that into account.
Time served.
Yeah, but you just don't want to bring your passions into it. It can't be personal if you're going to do this.
Some of these the conflict things are really good slides. I just got out of that class over there. So
Yeah.
I've also found that being thankful helps. If somebody gets up in my face, I try and find a way to be thankful and thank them for whatever.
For their opinion or for their ideas or whatever it is, yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes it's hard to do.
Yeah,
But it pulls you out of your own thought paradigm, man.
absolutely,
More objective.
absolutely. Yes, sir.
So what if in your lodge you've got a new mason who decides to leave, and you have a strong suspicion it's because of another mason, and that mason suspects he was the problem but won't acknowledge it. What do you do if somebody just refuses to acknowledge that they may have caused an issue? How do you address that?
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked me that
And
question.
leadership.
I'm glad you asked me that question. Yeah. So the question, if you don't mind me repeating, make sure that I've got it right. You've got a new mason, and he leaves, and he won't tell you why. He's new. He's going to go, this is just not what I expected. This is not what the behavior I expected out of a brother. And he takes off. The next time you hear from him, he's asking for a demit, and he's gone. And so you suspect because of maybe one of your lodge officers has gone overboard, is overly passionate, as you might say, okay? And has tried to mentor that brother, but he does it with an iron hand. And so he's driving off your young guys, is what he's doing, right? All you can really do, Casey, is pull the offending brother aside and going, so what do you think about this brother leaving? What do you think might be the cause? See what kind of feel him out on what he thinks. And then, if it were me, I would go, didn't you kind of overstep your boundaries just a little bit with this brother, and would that have had any effect on his leaving? Let's talk about it. Let's think about it a little bit. Let's bring it home as far as the relationship that you were trying to have that maybe he didn't want. And will it be a tough conversation? Yes, sir. It will. It'll be really bad.
You know, one thing we just learned in the conflict resolution talk that really hit home was when you do need to confront somebody, you know, whenever 2 or 3 are gathered, you're blessed. So rather than bring a couple brothers with you, don't make it a one-on-one situation. Then there's less confrontation with them.
That might be true, but I think in Casey's particular case, most of the brothers will probably recognize it, and the offending brother will see it as you ganging up.
Right.
That's what I'm afraid of too. Like, I know, you know, people all have varying degrees of like sensitivity to being.
I was just gonna say sensitive.
Yeah. We're not going to mention any names, but his initials are Fred. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? We got time, guys. We're just killing time. Anything else? What do you want to know about the MRC? Maybe you got something?
Along the lines of leadership, I'm particularly proud from Porter, July 98. I work at Fort Lewis in education design, and a friend of mine and I have designed a course that we call the Leader's Matrix. We base it around a book that was written by a sailor, Captain Mike Abrashoff, who was in command of a guided missile destroyer. And he wrote a book called It's Your Ship. And everything that Sam talked about here today is in that book. I highly recommend that book as one of the basic texts on leadership. And one of the first lessons you learn is empowerment. Give a new brother something to do. Trust him. Make sure that you are responsible for the things that you are responsible for. In the early days, when Mike Abrashoff took command of the ship, as the former commander was leaving the ship, the crew jeered disrespectfully. They couldn't wait for him to leave because he was such a micromanager, such a draconian leader that nobody enjoyed their job. In fact, they had one of the lowest enlistment rates in the Navy. They had one of the worst rated ships in the Navy insofar as readiness. They couldn't get anything done. Abrashoff took this pile of steaming crap and less than a year later won the Spokane Award for the most improved and the best ship in the fleet. The book is about how he did it. You had people who had never seen an officer on the ship working down in the holds. And Abrashoff made sure to have the division officers, and he got down there nearly every day just to see the people, see how they're doing. Inside of a lodge, there are no ranks. There are positions of responsibility and authority inside the lodge, but there are no ranks. There's no time in grade. How long have you been wearing an apron? Wow, I've been wearing it for 30 years, 7 months, 12 days, and 16 hours. Okay, and today, you're an entered apprentice. If I approach my position in the lodge as I'm an entered apprentice and I'm here to learn, I'm going to learn something as long as somebody trusts me enough to do it. And if I fail in it, in my current position as a senior deacon, you have no idea how many times I've been corrected. Or I've had a brother approach me, shouldn't your rod be at more 45-degree angle, or shouldn't you be making your corners a little more square? And I try to learn from each one of these encounters. And as Sam said, don't take it personal. It's a brother in the most friendly manner, providing for my development. The principles of leadership are to give those you lead as much power to be led as you can. And I'm going to end this there. But I recommend the book, It's Your Ship by Mike Abershaw.
So we have a saying in the Navy, it's probably the most derogatory I've ever heard, is, you've heard this before, is, I've got more time on the shitter than you have in the Navy.
Yep. That's the same thing in the Army. You got more time on the static line than you got in the chow line. Yeah. And time and grade doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If all you've been doing is sitting on the sidelines and correcting everybody else, have you really improved yourself or the lodge in masonry?
And that's the question you have to ask yourself on everything that you do.
Yes.
You know, does it improve me, or does it improve my lodge, or does it improve me? And hence the motto,
Right.
Freemasonry every day, every way, with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've personally caused quite a few past masters to crumble.
Thank you.
But I think-
Was I, wait a minute, first, was I one of them?
No, you
Okay, well, all right.
You're good at keeping it low. But personally, I think.
I can go to the lodge next week, and he goes, I refuse to sit with that brother. I'm a member, I don't care.
I get two more guys. But I think I learned a lot more from what I did wrong. If that brother comes along, he's like, here, let's show you how to do it. I mean, obviously, I think we all know that, but show the person how to do it rather than just, oh, you did that wrong. You do this, you know.
You can't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, get up there and show people how you want it done, how it should be done, or some better ways to do it.
And I gotta tell you what, I don't know if any of the other brothers know, I know that Tig and I do a couple here, but the most Masonic example I can come up with, the best one I can come up with, is very worshipful brother Brian Gross.
Yeah.
The man literally exudes masonry in every single thing that he does. And it makes you want to be close to him. It makes you want to get to know him. Hell, if I died tomorrow, my wife would marry him. Probably if he wasn't married, I'd be glad I got, you know. I mean, this guy, and Sam, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Brian Gross is what I almost look at and say, man, I wish I could be that positive, that reinforcing, that caring. I have never heard a bad word, and I've never heard him correct someone and have them think he's saying something bad. Because what he does is he doesn't correct you. He comes up to you as your brother and says, that was fantastic, what about doing this? And that would be the most stern thing you'd ever hear come out of his mouth.
Yeah. Makes a difference, doesn't it?
I'm going to tell you, man, that guy impresses me daily. And I see quite a bit of him because we do a lot of work at the lodge together. And I would say that I've been in the line for a little while now, and I still use him as my divining rod, so to speak, in masonry, because he really does have it down. And I wish everybody could have an example of him right in front of them. Because the guy is just truly Mason. Every single thing he does. The way he talks, acts, breathes, everything.
Yeah. Terry, hang on a second. Because here's my next door neighbor. I mean, he lived across the street. And he wasn't Mason. You asked him something, he was Johnny on the spot. He was always volunteering for everything. He was giving away half his income. He was a Mason. He just wasn't paying his dues. He wasn't a member of the lodge. We all know people like that. They're Masons in their hearts. They do the right thing regardless, right? And those are the brothers. Those are the pre-brothers that we should be seeking out, and we all know them. And Resolution 1983-6.
86.3.
Huh?
86.3.
Yeah, 1986-3 says that if you know of someone of that character and caliber, there's nothing wrong for you going over and saying, you know,
Make a great Mason.
I find you to be an interesting fellow. and quite similar to the number of the members of my lodge. We have a lot in common. Have you ever thought about being a Mason? There's nothing wrong with that. You're not soliciting, you're asking a question. Now that may open a dialogue for you. And I'll give you another one better. You know who the best recruiter in this fraternity is in this jurisdiction that I know? Her name is Vicky. Brother, if you think she has any hesitation whatsoever to go up to anybody that she suspects might be a good Mason or their lady and going, he needs to talk to a lodge brother and he needs to do it now. There's nothing wrong with that. We can't suspend her.
Matter of fact, it's best if you don't.
And in the most friendly manner. There's nothing wrong with that. And why we don't do it, I mean, I don't understand. We know them, and why we don't approach them, I can't answer. I approached my neighbor, past master of our lodge now. And he's just as good a Mason as he ever was. Yes, sir. Oh, wait a minute. Terry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he brought up the father's point of talking to people in the most positive manner. 'Cause when we were doing the degree work, we had a lot of the old timers sitting in place, and someone would make a minor mistake, and afterwards they'd go, "Boy, you sure screwed that line up," and you literally watch this guy deflate.
Just saying.
And then trying to get this person to learn a part again. No, no.
Yeah, it's scary.
We ended up having to pull the brothers who were outside, saying, "Why did you do that? Was that the most friendly manner? What was your obligation? Do you remember it?" And let me recite it for you. So we kind of put them on the spot, put them in the hot seat. And afterwards, they were mad. They kind of stormed around a little bit, but afterwards, it's thank you, brothers, for correcting. And so, regardless if they make mistakes on the degree work, whatever, it's always, man, you guys did fantastic. Give a round of applause to everybody. And at the next practice, if they're going through it, like you were saying, well, let's take a look at this. We're a little bit off here. Let's do a little correction. Let's try to move this around.
Absolutely.
They're more in a receptive mood, and they're not on the spot.
Absolutely. We were talking about the process to work with an obstinate brother. The first thing I would do is going, I heard a few interesting words the other day, and I thought I might share these with you if you have just a moment or two. We are now about to quit this sacred retreat of friendship and virtue to mingle again in the outer world. Amid its concerns and employments, forget not the duties that you have heard so frequently inculcated and so forcefully recommended in your lodge. Diligent, prudent, temperate, discreet. Remember, at this altar, you will promise to befriend and relieve every brother who shall need your assistance. You have been enjoined to remind a brother in the most friendly manner of his fault, to endeavor to aid his reformation, defend his character. These generous principles extend further for every human being has a claim upon your kind offices. Do good unto all. Finally, my brother, let us all be of one mind. Let's live in peace. That's what I would do. Rather than of all the charges.
How'd that brother do the closing?
I've seen them recite it, but they weren't listening. Rather than of all the charges, and of all the work and masonry, that is my favorite, right there. I can sum it up in 4 words, 5 words. For masonry, every day, everywhere.
Where have I heard that?
I don't know. Who wrote that? Okay, I think we're done.
All right.